Film number one we're going to be talking about today, released on Netflix, is The Five Bloods. Released 12th of June 2020, directed by Spike Lee. We have Delroy Lindo as Paul, Chadwick Boseman as Norman L. Stormin Norman Holloway, Clarke Peters as Otis, and Isiah Whitlock Jr. as Melvin. 4 African-American vets battle the forces of man and nature when they return to Vietnam seeking the remains of their fallen squad leader and the gold fortune he helped them to hide.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Hey!
Kyle, were you entertained?
Yes.
Amari, were you entertained?
No.
Giles, were you entertained?
Yes.
That makes 3-1 for the first show back because I was thoroughly entertained.
Why does this territory feel so familiar?
Yeah, no,
Familiar
it's always you, Amari.
It's always 3-1.
Do you know what? We should just make a show in it called 3-on-1. Simple.
Yeah, 3-1.
3-on-1.
Amari didn't like it. We did. Amari liked it. We didn't.
Episode 50.
That's it. Every freaking episode.
Amari, do you want to kick things off?
Okay. I'm going to give context of why I didn't like it so I can explain myself. Current climate, in terms of Black Lives Matter movement, in terms of being a black guy, and just in terms of watching the different montages. If this film came out regardless of the current social climate and supposedly other people understanding and empathizing with my racist struggle, then I would have enjoyed the film. But it sounds mad to say, in a time where so much more information has been given to you as an individual, just through pure saturation, through any social media, through you're going to read stuff for yourself. I'm kind of like, okay, we already knew that.
Yeah.
I personally already thought that any black person fighting in a war that I thought was a white person's war was a stupid war to fight in, personally. Always thought like that. So then I always because I remember when we was doing 1917 and I saw the black regiment and I was a bit confused seeing black people there. But then I realized there was black people there because I was corrected. And then in World War II there was still black, but I was like, why are you actually fighting in this war? It's not beneficial for you. So
can I ask you a question? Because you've started on a very good sort of good topic of discussion, and I think we're all probably going to have something to say on it. Would it be fair to say that because of everything that's going on, watching a film, as you said, 4 African Americans fighting a war, which I mean, war is bad, full stop, but specifically maybe that was a white war. Or a war in a country that didn't have anything, 2 countries didn't have anything to do with black people. The only reason black people were there is because they were told to go. So with everything that's going on in the Black Lives Matter movement at the moment, watching this film, did you feel angry? Did you feel like I
just feel like I'm disappointed that this is because I was disappointed that one, there's black people going to this war. I already knew black people was going to that war because when I was younger, I watched Forrest Gump. The ones that I learned. So whether I agree with everything that's being displayed, cool. But overall, when you read about that war and why that war happened, and what the profit and greed and etc. that happened because of that war, I'm like, what the fuck was that war for? Because I don't see doing any beneficial nature for the country that the war took place in, its surrounding countries overall, and in the country that wanted to invade that country to have a war for that country. So
wait. Are you saying you've got an issue?
Where's my hands up?
Oh, I'm not even looking at Zencaster right now.
What's the point of having a hands up system?
I'll tell you what. Because we got a video, so you could put your actual physical human hand up, but you choose
to really care about that. I'm choosing the damn software. If we're paying for this damn software, we might as well use it to its full potential. So I'm using my hand up.
There was an important, very poignant part of the conversation, and Charles is just going, "Excuse me, my hands up." Giles is one of them guys. Giles is one of them guys. You know them guys that, like, if they're in a queue and the wrong person accidentally gets picked up. Oh no, sorry, I was there.
Standard. Go on.
I was just going to say, Amari, you sound like you've got an issue with the war as a whole, as opposed to
That's
the
exactly
film.
what I was going to say.
Okay, so
What you were discussing is not necessarily in relation to the film.
you're mistaken, because the whole theme throughout the film, with every little self, like, so I'm gonna call him. I can't do African accents because I don't remember his name. Every monologue he did, was literally
Chadwick
about.
Boseman.
It was literally about black people's struggles with wars in America.
Of the Black Panther.
Yeah, the spirit of the Black Panther who lost without the Black Panther powers. Him, right? He, every time he spoke, was literally about black empowerment, having a war that you shouldn't need to go have war for. How is this beneficial for you? Blah, etc., etc., etc. But I'm watching the film, so you don't think that you either fall on two sides of it. That war was not needed for black people to attend. Firstly, secondly, after the war's not needed, you feel like I'm supposed to be happy. And then when I'm watching the film, their collective and their camaraderie and their togetherness, I 100% felt it in terms of that aspect. And there were certain performances in that film which had me clapping, and I was like, "This." I'm just saying. But when you're asking me about, am I judging the film based on the war? Literally, because the whole depiction of the film was different wars that black people served in.
I'll let you go, Charles. I still have follow-up questions, so I'll let you go.
No, that's fine.
So, I mean, the first thing that kind of struck me was, well, actually, oh look, it's a film where we are, and it's not the first film to do this, in my mind, but it's a film where they're actually acknowledging the fact that there were black men who fought in a war. So from that, and in all honesty, yes, you're talking about the current climate. The only thing this film is kind of relatable to that is the fact that it was released during the current climate. It clearly wasn't made during the current climate. It was made prior to everything that's gone on. Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're a film and you're called New Mutants, you were made 5 years ago and you still haven't seen the light of day. But so we don't know when this film was made.
Unnecessary. I'm called for.
So yeah, well, it's not. It's a film. We talk about films. I'm talking about a film. Anyway. So first and foremost, when you've got a film, okay, albeit by a black director, but the topic is about black war veterans who quintessentially had unfinished business. You're right. I mean, the reality is, whether you were black, white, Vietnamese, whatever, it was a pointless war. Most wars are pointless.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not for me. It's not a matter of saying, oh, do you know what? Black people shouldn't attend or shouldn't be. Listen, we are kind of lucky enough to be born in an era where, yes, there are wars going on, but we haven't been kind of put in a position where we are saying we need to attend. You need to attend this war. You need to because again, with the Vietnam War. There were people, Muhammad Ali didn't attend. He had to go to prison. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we haven't been put in that position. So again, people don't know what they're going to do. And I think we spoke about this when we were reviewing 1917. A lot of these people, and in fact, most of these people that attended these wars were not soldiers. They were it was like there was just a call into arms and they just answered the call rather than go to prison. So, it doesn't really, I mean, you kind of don't get that impression from these guys because, they're quite patriotic. They're even as old men, they were still tactically aware of what happens during a conflict. But I was just, my initial impression of the film was that actually this is refreshing to see a predominantly black cast and them talking about the fact that they were and they served in this war. Kyle.
Yeah, again, that's my impression was that it was good to see again that there were black people in the war, but I liked the fact of the historical context that was shown throughout in terms of them going back to old images and clips. Obviously, Muhammad Ali, as you said, he wasn't on it, so I liked the intertwining between it. So, and obviously the reason that they thought they were going to war was not what they were. It wasn't what they were told then. So my thing was, again, I didn't look at it in terms of why did they go to war? Should it be? I was just looking at it from the story perspective, and from from a plot perspective, I thought it was okay. It was similar to Triple Frontier in some ways, is what I wrote down. You've gone.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Did none of you lot think that when you were watching it?
Nah, I wouldn't have gone with Triple. I wouldn't have gone with Triple Frontier.
I understand.
Yes, I did.
The concept
there
of
was
what
elements
you're
of
saying.
Triple Frontier.
I don't agree with it, but I understand the concept you're saying.
I kind of felt it was, well, I mean, the way that it started for me, like the first thing, I think we all know, like Spike Lee loves to have that kind of impact of his films. He likes to make a statement. So from the opening sequence, the sort of the collection of clips and footage, I'll just, before the film had even started, I was already thinking, yeah, this is going to be quite a heavy film. Like, this is going to be quite emotive. Like, I was just sitting there watching the opening sequences, and all I could think was, yeah, the world is fucked. The world is fucked. When you go and start looking at the history of these sort of things that happened, you know, before our lifetimes, and you really go into the depths and understand the mechanics, but it's mad. So I was already on that. But then what I liked was, I kind of felt, once we're introduced to the characters, straight away it reminded me of you lot, because I thought, well, the first thing I thought was, right, so I've been in that position with all of you where we've just been out on a night out, completely smashed, dance floor, whatever. So that was quite, and I got the emotive.
I'm surprised you remember. You're the lightweight of the group. I'm surprised. Well, Carl, I wouldn't laugh too hard if I was you. All right? I wouldn't laugh too hard if I was you. But anyway, go on.
But it was very relatable. Like, watching these men, obviously they come together for quite a heavy kind of reason as well, which again I was intrigued at that. I thought, oh yeah, these Delroy, Lindo, and I saw we're gonna call him Clay. So obviously we all know him as Clay from The Wire. But when I saw them, I didn't know if it was gonna be more comedy or actually more drama. So very soon into the film, I was like, yes, this is quite, I can get it. The band of brothers, the friends, the bloods, as it were, going back to go and find their fallen comrade after all these years. And even the fact of going back to a country which you can't even begin to imagine what it would have felt like being there at war, to then go back years later for like a holiday or a trip. Like, it got me thinking, and I was like, yeah, this is a good sort of starting point, or a good sort of plot to work off. My thing is, as the film goes on, the one major thing for me, which I believe let the film down, was the performances. I didn't feel that collectively,
I'm not gonna agree. Sorry.
Collectively, their performances weren't all of that, and at times it kind of felt a bit cheesy. Where I feel like where they had a good base, if they had maybe more captivating performances, or they had more interactions together in a certain way, maybe a bit of less comedy, I would have felt it a bit more. For example, the scene where they get to Nam and they're on the mountain and they're finding the gold. It was a bit, and then David, the son, he does that stupid
don't
song
get
and
me
dance
started
when
on the son.
But this is what I'm saying. But again, even with his character, obviously the way he's introduced, again, very comedic. So I thought, yeah, this is a joke thing. But then he ends up having quite some strong, poignant scenes as well. So it was just a bit kind of mixed up in terms of performances for me. And I think that's the one thing that let this down. I
mean, can we agree on one thing? There was obviously Delroy Lindo's performance.
Right, can we have the Delroy Lindo conversation, please?
No, not yet. No, not yet. Not yet. Let's.
Look at Murray.
About Delroy. Hey, listen.
Hold
on, brother. In the trap. Real motherfucker.
I've got my hand.
You have to be up. Don't get me started on this.
We weren't getting you started because it's me talking.
Well, you said his name. Hey, listen.
Can we all agree that his performance was outstanding?
If there was a star, he
for the
would be
most
above
part.
the star. He would be a planet.
Wait.
In comparison to
everything else,
he was the standout. His performance was the standout.
Easily.
Well, he was given the biggest role, though. To be fair, the other guys are just
But he did it in the best possible way. If you think about, because as a Giles likes to say, you knew he did it. Like when I was watching it, I knew he was the cause of Norman's death about halfway through, because it didn't make sense.
I didn't.
For me, it didn't make sense why he cared so much, or
also the fact that he was he kept on seeing him.
It's too
he was
much.
The only one he was the only one. So obviously they've you kind of look at it like, okay, they've all gone through this PTSD because of this situation. They was all collectively in the situation. There was, you get the fact that there was 5 of them and only 4 have come home. And what quickly kind of just seems as like a mission to rescue or retrieve Stormin Norman's bones or his remains or whatever. You realise that there's a mercenary a la is it Final Frontier?
3 minutes later,
Triple
care about
Frontier.
the money.
Triple Frontier, Triple Frontier going on. But his the other guys were okay. I mean,
they were okay, man.
They were okay. They weren't. They had, there was a couple of lines. They had a couple of lines that were, and the delivery of lines were a few every now and again. What kept on having me in stitches the most was what's the guy? So Norm Lewis, who played Eddie. What was going on with his legs? I don't know whether his legs.
I can only assume they were, to be honest,
because that shit had me in stitches.
It was a mad.
Why are you laughing at that? You're a heartless guy.
Because I'm thinking to myself. No, hear me out a second. So I'm thinking to myself, hold on. You lot had an idea that you're going to go on this. It's not a ramble. You lot are going on a hike in the Vietnamese jungle. There's going to be an element like you've taken survival gear and whatever and provisions and all the rest of it. This is going to be a mad thing because you've been there when he was more able-bodied. So why have you put dude through the same thing and he's got these bow legs they kept on doing these shots. They kept on doing these shots where he was like, because he was never at the front, he was always at the back, and it was hilarious, bro.
Well, of course.
It was hilarious.
I love it because it's an honest description of the film. But to be fair,
bruv, but you were thinking it as well.
I won't say I weren't, but I was just like, why is this man? Why is he? How is he? I was like, and then I realized what was going on. But maybe it was probably a true description of someone that had served in the Vietnam War, and this is
absolutely.
So I could understand.
I mean, if you, I think. We've all seen. We mentioned Forrest Gump earlier on. Yeah, and I'm thinking it's in Forrest Gump. I believe it is in Forrest Gump because obviously we touched on that a little bit earlier. But there's a bit where he's saying about how it's so important to look after your feet. I don't know if anyone else remembers that scene.
Yeah, because your feet. If your feet don't work, you can't walk.
That's right.
That's right. If you get carried, you're a burden to the company. You're
exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. So it was. I found it funny that they even though they knew this, they still put this guy. They still put this guy through this arduous.
But wait, before we go any further, I've just got to pull up some of Lindo's quotes because, as I say, there was just too much. There was just too much. First of all, the way that he scored Jean Reno in that meeting, and he was scolding him, and the rest of the men were like, "No, relax." He said, "No, I ain't gonna relax."
He wasn't having a bar of it.
He was too much.
And then when he was talking to his son, and he said,
"Every conversation I had with his son,
you ain't been nothing but an anchor around my neck since the day you were born." then it's the confrontation he got into with the chicken seller.
That's my favourite scene of the whole film.
It made no sense. It was so like, how did you get here? Well,
I was saying.
That chicken seller was something else. Then, as the film goes on, I've got some more quotes from him when he said, you know, when his son, obviously he just rescued his son, and then they take the bomb disposal unit hostage, and the son's trying to pattern, and he just comes up to the woman and says, look at me, I'm the motherfucker. Then finally, the one that wrapped me up was when which was my best scene in the film. We'll get into that in a sec. When he does his monologue, you know, when he kind of goes off on his ones, and there's that sort of very close monologue, and he says, God said to me, Paul, fuck them motherfuckers. Lindo was killing me throughout this whole film. And do you know what? Because I was thinking, I was like, have I seen him in a film since Romeo Must Die? I know he's probably been in some. What has he been in since then?
There's things that I remember. I don't know if it was before or after Romeo, but
this is what I'm saying.
He was in the core, and I enjoyed the core. That was a little science thing. It wasn't really. Huh?
Yeah.
I remember it. I didn't see it, but I remember the when
for
the
me,
film
it was
came
a great film. Whether it's a great film for context of life, but it was a good film. Nah, he did a lot. And he was in Gone in 60 Seconds. I don't know when Romeo Must Die came out, but to be fair...
It was about the same time.
Around the same time,
I'm counting them as the...
2000.
Listen,
2000.
I'm respecting his ability to choose where he could perform good. That's what I'm going to say.
No, it was a very enjoyable performance. Some of the cinematography as well. I know, Carl, we spoke about the footage, the real life footage being added to this film, but another trick that, sort of technique that Spike Lee used, which I really enjoyed, was every time we went back in time, you'd get that sort of square aspect ratio.
Yeah,
the film would get very, very grainy. I loved it. I thought it just done the job for me.
I didn't like that, to be honest. It took me out of the film.
Why not?
It took me out of the film. I wasn't sure what he was trying to go for, because even the way that the action scenes were shot, like where they were on a helicopter and stuff, I was like, it looks bad. So I wasn't sure, is he trying to make it look... I was a bit confused by that. And then I was a bit confused.
Well, obviously
I was a bit confused by the fact they looked the same age back then as they do now as well.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I got the fact that the same technique they used in, what was the Irish?
No, but well, that's what I was going to say. They didn't have that Marvel money to be doing Samuel Jackson and all of that, and Gemini Man. They didn't have that kind of money, so I kind of like the fact that they kind of. I did, because again, it made it very obvious that you've gone back in time.
No, because I was confused though. That's the thing.
But how are you confused?
I was confused because I was like, hold on. They look like they're the same age. Like, what's going on here? I was actually baffled.
Okay. But Carl, you knew that Norman was dead.
This is what I'm trying to say.
Maybe.
So all of us, maybe. You knew that they would... Hold on. It was quite apparent that Norman's dead. It was also quite apparent that it was like, you know, they'd served in the Vietnam War, which wasn't currently happening.
Yeah.
And it was quite apparent that they'd gone back to Vietnam. That was kind of established early doors.
This is what I'm saying.
I don't know if he was trying to do a fantasy. I was genuinely like, why do they look the same age?
No, because if you think about it,
any kind of makeup in? Could they not get any kind of makeup in? Why do they look
they kind of...
They dyed beards. They dyed beards. They dyed greys.
Even Tosin was like, "What is going?" Was both confused. Like, why do they look the same? They need to sort that out.
There was a few Delroy scenes where I'm like, "Bruv, I can see your grey beard." But
all of them, no.
No. I'm too good about him. I'm not too good about, because obviously I got sick and tired. Because even when Clay Davies couldn't say shit,
he got in there though.
I know he did, but he never put it back.
Isiah Whitlock Jr. is his name.
Yes.
Clay Davies is his name.
Clay Davies
is his name.
Clay from The Wire.
I didn't even read. He got given a name and he repped it hard.
And Lester Freeman, then. We'll call him Lester Freeman. That's the first thing I've seen him in
Clarke
outside of The Wire. I haven't seen him in anything else.
They're not characters. They have names. Jesus Christ, you lot, man.
No, their names are their names that they are given. Unless they are Denzel, Leo, or Brad. That is what they're
I mean, the joke is, I mean, I was just looking at his filmography, Delroy, and what's his name?
What's Lester's photography like?
Peters. Well, they've done a lot of TV. So again, it's one of them ones where if you haven't watched their TV shows, then you wouldn't have.
Man don't care.
That's it.
All right, cool, done. Man don't care.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
They have done a lot of TV.
I just on performances as well. I just want to say someone who annoyed me, who's been annoying me since I watched this film, was that Richard Jewell guy.
Oh, nah, you're going in a bit too much.
No,
you're
going in a bit too much. You made me watch that I, Tonya. I'll give a separate review about that another day. And he was in that.
That's his 15
and he annoyed me in that. Yeah. And when I saw him in this, I just like, why? And then he was giving the same annoying performance.
But hold on.
One of my favourite scenes was when Delroy slapped him. That was one of my favourite scenes.
I wonder why.
Nah. Listen, I can't see how. All right, put it like this: the son annoyed me more than he did.
No, the
son annoyed me.
Same level. Same level.
Do you know what? The son helped carry the film further.
No, he did. No, he did. He did.
Yeah, he literally. He wasn't. What?
Did you just say the son carried the film?
No, he did.
He said helped. He said helped.
The son.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if there was because the father-son relationship throughout the
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Pieces they weren't going to get there without it.
100%. He's the annoying entity.
But hold on a sec. My issue with that father and son relationship, dynamic even, was okay. David steps on the mine. Okay. Yeah,
big scene, by the way.
Massive scene. Okay. You know, the mine retrieval people, whatever, the French lady, whatever her name is.
The lambs.
The lambs. They just happen to be on scene. Okay, they just happen to be on scene.
Fine.
But they don't know how to deal. They're landmine experts, but they don't know how to deal with this. You know, there's nothing that can be done.
But Giles, just to quick. Sorry, go on.
Paul then comes up with his plan to rescue his son because it's his son.
No, he did it. He makes it. I had the plan.
No, but it's no. But this is what I was trying to say. Like, okay, it's one of them ones. You can go school, you can go college, you can go uni, and you can get a degree in something. But if you don't have the experience, sometimes you don't know. And I like the leveling of that thing.
Right. So he comes up with his plan. They rescue his son, and he's over the moon. Literally by the next scene, he fucking leaves. He just walks off.
No.
Literally by the next scene, he just walks off and deserts him.
Because he was conflicted.
Because
he was conflicted. Because there were moments where you could tell that, you know, he loved his son, but then there were moments where he was like, he hated his son, and then furthermore, you then find out why he has that confliction.
All film it was, you know, he deserves he's helped as he deserves his own share. He's helped as then he just essed out. Now,
yeah, but again, the stress in it, the stress of the mine and seeing his other guy die, and then the Norman stuff. It to me, this is why another reason why I thought Delroy Lindo's performance was so good, because I've read the horror stories about ex-soldiers and, you know, the monstrosities that they have to go through and witness to then come back and try and live a normal life. And for me, he portrayed someone going through the PTSD, going through those conflictions, going through the sort of self, you know, destruction. I was brought in. So all these elements where he had to deal with the money, deal with his son, deal with the survival, deal with being back in Nam, deal with being with his mates. It's like every other scene, it's kind of like he was a bit bipolar, like a split personality disorder, because you'd see a different side of his character in each scene that he was interacting with those other different characters. So I bought into it. I get what you're saying, because it was a bit sort of hot and cold at times, but I kind of...
It was almost like, for me, it was like the polar opposite. He went from kind of going out of his way and being so kind of, I can't lose my son, you know, to just, I'm out. I'm out.
But again, I believe it's because he kind of hit that threshold of madness. Because then, when my favorite scene, as I said, the monologue when he was cutting through the trees and
When
what
he's
he
on
said,
his
I
way,
didn't.
and
Yeah,
then
I didn't
he
get
didn't
it.
pray, and it was like, and they asked him, "Where are the others?" And he was like, he was basically saying, "I'm gonna die before I
Yeah,
say." Before he
yeah,
finished it, he was like,
yeah,
"Well, now dead."
yeah, and it was for me. I was like, yeah, this is his moment of madness. What he was saying again, tying into what you said at the start of the review, Amari, it's like he was saying things that were quite prevalent with what's going on right now as well, and the whole sort of race thing. And it was a very good scene. And then from that, obviously, then he trips, he falls, and he just goes full on mad. To then we see his death, where because he's made peace with his ghost. It was good. It was I bought into his character through and through. I thought, no, this was
That was
a
only
very good
my
portrayal.
only issue with it. That him portraying. I know I'm not around PTSD Vietnam War survivors that often, but I think his portrayal of someone who'd been in that situation and had gone through and had seen it was believable. Fully bought into his performance.
Amari, what was your favorite scene in The Five Bloods?
I don't think I have a favorite, but I think a memorable scene, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was when Clay Davies jumped on a grenade. That sacrificial lamb
See,
behavior for the gang. Yeah, I like that. I felt that. It was to the heart.
But going back to
well,
one,
literally, because he died.
going back to one of my earlier points, did you not think that was a bit too silly though? Like I did. This is what I would.
Hold on, whoa. Before you start questioning him, so that's your favorite scene,
I
yeah?
said it's the most memorable scene.
Okay.
I didn't say it was my favorite.
How favorite changes.
I was just going by what I remember clearly about the film. My man doing what I call the Chris Adams, Steve Adams, Captain America thing, but actually dying. Yeah.
But it
I
was
like-
so uneventful. There was no
To be fair,
dramatic music.
he
or
didn't even
nothing.
need to do it. That's the worst part. I'm pretty sure they all would have been fine. Apart from him, he might have lost a leg. It might have been like the other guy that would have lost all half these limbs and whatever. But them not all would have survived that. But it is what it is.
But that was my point. I think there were parts of this, as I said earlier on, where it was as though it was going down a comedic route, but where the tone and the messages in the film were so serious, that was for me the conflict that brought the overall rating, which I'll get into in a minute, of this film down, because I didn't know at times what the film was trying to do. If it was trying to be serious or trying to be like funny, or if it was black comedy, but it didn't hit because the seriousness of everything that they were trying to bring across in scenes. Like my favorite scene when Delroy Lindo's talking to the camera and he goes into that tirade. So it was a bit disjointed, but for humor purposes, I can see exactly why you picked that, and he did get his patented shit. And I don't know if
get paid for that
saw,
shit.
but right at the end, I don't know if you probably didn't even waste time, but right at the end of the credits, there's a shot of the I think more or less the entire cast, and they all did it together. Yeah.
There was credits.
To be fair, I think I just got up, went to go and get a tea or something, come back, and it was still playing, and that's the only reason I saw it. I had a little personal bet of myself going on to see if he could slip it into this, because he clearly is now trying to just slip it into anything that he's in. So
literally,
of course.
Literally.
Yeah, but he's allowed to. Yes,
but that's what people are expecting from him.
Exactly.
Which is sad.
You're getting paid to say a 4-letter word that you turn into a 6-letter word. 15 syllables.
Yeah, a little bit longer than more than 6 letters.
No.
I wouldn't say the favourite scene, but one of the scenes that I liked the most was right at the beginning when they go clubbing and they're doing like the dance, but it looks like they're like proper dancing it up, when in reality they're just trying to get through the crowd to go and sit down and have drinks. So they're like, in essence, you kind of get the feeling that when the first time they were over there, that would have been something they would have been doing. Like they'd have been the life and soul of the party. But the reality is they're now these old men who, one, they're not there to party. They're there to. They've got a mission to go and fulfill, and they got a meeting to go and attend. But it's the way how they dance through, and then I think there's like the way I just love the way how it's filmed. Like they're like all central, moving towards the camera, and then you've got everyone else in the crowd like either side, kind of looking at them.
But that's what I put in my notes. I said that scene for me was very relatable. I think I've been in that position with all of you, man. So I was laughing from the get-go. Even from
I'm surprised you remember it. I'm surprised you remember it.
WhatsApp's a beautiful thing, innit? I've got friends that can remind me of things that go on. But it was just the whole way that whole sort of beginning started, where they're meeting at the hotel, they're shaking hands, just like not a day has gone by that they just carry on from where they left off, and then later on they're in the club looking fresh, doing their thing, charisma. Very relatable.
Going back to what that grenade scene, that whole kind of montage of the gunfight, and you know their well executed plan. I had an issue with it towards the end. I know Jean Reno is Leon, and he's like the perfect contract killer, but he was wounded and he only had a pistol, and he managed to take out man after they had taken out an entire army.
But that's the thing. I think, and I'll say in my rap, but it was like, as you said, that I wasn't sure whether it was meant to be almost like a parody of 80 action films, as if to say like, oh yeah, it's so ridiculous that he's able to come out of that. So I wasn't sure if that's what he was going for, or if that was meant to be serious.
Why can't it be both?
The two don't go hand in hand.
Hey,
not for this. I think it was a bit too. The difference was a bit too much, and it was like sometimes I forget it. I personally feel sometimes Spike Lee's trying to do everything, and he's trying to do it too forcefully, and it's like for me. And again, well, perfect timing. If I tap this, getting to the wrap up. Star ratings. I'm gonna go first. I gave this 3 stars. Reason being, I thought overall it was a very good film in terms of the message that it was trying to bring across, the story that that Spike Lee was telling. My main gripes, as I was just talking about, were I didn't know at times what kind of film this was trying to be. If it was trying to be serious and hard hitting, or if it was trying to be comedic for the laughter element, or if it was just trying to be dramatic. It kind of felt a bit disjointed in the overall message and tone it was trying to bring across. And on top of that, for me, the performances from everybody in the cast, outside of Delroy Lindo, I didn't feel like everyone else in this done justice to the film. I felt that there were times where it was a bit forced, a bit sort of, I don't want to say that these guys are kind of on their way down in terms of like a declining their career or their performance capability, but I just wasn't sold. Perfect example, like I spoke about the Son. It was like 1 minute he was acting like trying to be the Joker, trying to have the slapstick comedy, but then he had a couple scenes where he was as though he was trying to show some sort of acting depth. It was just a bit all over the place from multiple characters. Didn't see enough from a lot of the characters as well, and that's what brought it down for me to a 3. But I did enjoy the film. I thought it's not one of Spike Lee's best, but it was a decent watch. So yeah, vanilla 3 stars for me.
Yeah. So overall, I had mixed emotions about this film. I wanted it to be good due to the actors involved and the potential subject matters that it could have been explored, but what started off as a fairly interesting story in the end turned into a wannabe thriller heist movie with a lack of any real substance and should have been cut by at least 30 minutes. This was a long film. The storytelling was lazy in some parts, with too many coincidences occurring throughout the film. I mean, as Giles, as you mentioned, that the Lambs team just happened to be rolling through the forest as the guy stepped on the landmine, and it happened to be the people that he met in the bar before. It was poor. I thought Delroy Lindo delivered the best performance of his career by far. However, there were several moments of overacting and still doesn't beat Samuel Jackson's portrayal of a very similar character in Skull Island. I urge everyone who hasn't seen that film to watch Skull Island. We've mentioned it a few times before. The rest of the cast were unfortunately just bystanders to Delroy Lindo and didn't really provide much value at all.
I agree.
The directing and cinematography in some moments were beautiful, but in others were very confusing. I wasn't sure if certain scenes were parodies of 80s action films or not. And when you really think about it, outside of the historical events that were spliced into it, what did we really learn from this film? Absolutely nothing. And that's the most disappointing thing of all, considering it's a Spike Lee film. So unfortunately, I had to drop it to 2 stars because we actually didn't learn anything.
No.
When you think about
That's
outside of the things that were spliced, there was nothing.
That's an unfair statement.
It's not.
That's why I
I'm
gave
gonna-
it.
Yeah, I'm 2 stars for me as well. Again, it had the potential to be something serious, you know, like I said earlier. The fact that we've got an all black cast, predominantly black cast, with a black director, you know, I think he's missed the boat. And especially, I know we said it wasn't filmed knowing knowing the current climate that we're in, but I think this film could have made like a massive statement in terms of, well, you know, you need to remember that, you know, black men did serve in wars. They're not depicted as serving in wars, widespread, but they actually did. And because of the fact that it kind of, like you said, had this parody of itself, or parody of the actual subject matter, even down to, I think we spoke about the fact that the the not very good makeup that they used to show them when they were with Storm and Norman. Yeah, and like I said, I think the whole film was kind of cemented with me, and I mentioned this earlier, with the whole the plan that was quite perfectly executed up until the point that they came up against Jean Reno with his one arm and his pistol, and he managed to take out these war veterans, these Vietnam War veterans. So yeah, it's only 2 stars from me, man.
Omari, round it up.
I don't agree with some of the points, but the film is only...
Oh, sorry, and also, sorry, Omari, sorry to cut you. Also, as well, the whole "this is your daughter, but I'm not going to tell you" subplot, yeah, that wound me up as well. Like, how did you not know, or how would you not have known, or how would this be the first time that you're ever meeting her? Like, what the hell? Like, you were lying down with this lady, irrespective of what her profession was. You were lying down with this.
But that's the key thing.
We're not going to go into that. But clearly, it was more than just, you know, it was more than it was more. There was something more to it. Like, you had a romance with her. Yeah, it was common knowledge, because even when he went off to visit her, like, well, I think one of them said, "Oh, where's?" And they said that he's got some business to attend to, or whatever. So it was common knowledge that this was his babes. This was Bay. This is Vietnam Bay. Okay, so yeah, the fact that, you know, she knew you were like, it was a big. It wasn't like it was a little baby. It was a big grown ass child that you claim to not like, and even his acting of surprise, like.
But
and they didn't even really
about the performances, though.
They didn't even really like. Okay, let's inject some seriousness into it. Okay, could that situation happen? Yes, it could. However, they didn't even film like the reaction to it. It was like, they only kind of did that at the end, after it was almost like an add-on at the end of the film.
That's
and
why I said it was lazy storytelling.
And again, has that, you know, I don't know, that situation more than likely has happened where, you know, a GI has and then he said something funny there, where a GI has has, you know, has served abroad and got involved in with a woman, a native woman, and had a child.
like that's probably quite common. It probably is. It's more common than people would have you believe. But again, it's something to be addressed. You know, absent father. It's something to be addressed, and it just wasn't. So yeah, 2 stars. Sorry, Amari.
Yeah, so this film gets 2 stars, but I don't agree with you lot's points. There was actually a good... every part Norman Stormin was in was relevant in terms of giving information.
Norman Stormin?
Whatever
Stormin Norman.
That's what his name is. That's what I'm calling him. Norman Stormin. Whatever the young kid was in, yeah. All his parts were relevant in terms of sharing information. Not in terms of in terms of a historical context, but in terms of a social context as a black person. Especially in America. Simples. Secondly, I always get told Black Panther is a good film. Look what happens when you have another almost black cast with some Hollywood money. Look what happens. Ding, ding, ding. You get another film that's undesirable for entertainment purposes.
This isn't Hollywood money though, is it? This is Netflix
but
money.
It's being classified as Hollywood money.
No, but
it's not classified as independent money. It's not classified as independent money, is it?
No,
it's Netflix.
No,
money.
it's not. But it's,
I'm talking about the subject matter. Don't compare the 2 films.
No, but
one is an action film.
No, I get his point. One is my wrap up. 2, yeah, they're my points. So if you want to say a side point, you could do that on the gram. All right, thank you. Thirdly, as we all know, I don't even call him Delroy. I won't lie to you. First time I met him, his name was Isaac in Romeo Must Die. So please understand, this guy had great range in that film just with facial expressions alone. I get it, they're not on Samuel's level, but that's okay. You're all correct. Spike Lee missed the boat. He could have done more. He should have done more. But like I said, when money influences, you don't always do what you coulda, shoulda, woulda.
I agree with that.
And this is why it gets 2 stars. Done.
So, with that gives The Five Bloods a TMRG star rating of 2 stars.
Those movie review guys.
Subscribe to the podcast and stream full episodes on all major platforms.